Y'all gonna count on first week? No. You just got for next year. And everything cold. Everything will be dry. I don't care about the cold now. Cold is down. I'd rather get it done now. Go to August. Yeah. We can go as far as you want. Oh, I know. It keeps getting farther and farther and farther and farther.
He's like, send me pain.
No, he'll start right now. He's going down.
But why don't you can go up to Kansas and spend 2 hours in this harness. Like Noah has this harness.
Y'all already planning for a year?
Yes, dude. But I'm focused
He's Jordan. He wants to get to
He's gonna be disappointed. He's gonna be disappointed.
now.
When he turns up here, the turkeys are here through the corner, or you won't see them. It's not like Maryland.
Start off class today. I need y'all to find 82 in your binder, and you might want to double check that you turned in 78. I did ask you to turn that in last time, but if you didn't and didn't think about it, this is your last chance to get full points. I guess I should add that 82 was the worksheet called Difference Quotient Practice 2. I gave that to you last time, but I didn't tell you the number, so you should have it, but you may not know that it's number 82. Okay, so our plan today is we are going to review the difference quotient that we talked about last time, but it's been almost a full week. I didn't see y'all since last Wednesday. So again, this 82 I gave to you last time, and I had originally planned on having you work that out on Wednesday, but it was a little bit more than I expected, and I thought it would be good to revisit it now. So in just a couple minutes here, I'm going to go over the front of that page for you as a quick little reteach. I'm not going to be saying anything different than what we said last time, but again, last time was the first time you saw it, and it will be on your next test. Then I will ask you to turn in 81 and 82. 81 was Difference Quotient Practice 1 that we did last class, and then this one after you finish it up. And then you have the rest of the class to work on the test review, which you can see is a little bit thicker than some of the others. But our test is not next class, it'll be the class after. So I will still see you guys on Wednesday, and on Wednesday you can get all your questions cleared up. But today, to finish off class, I need you to work through all of that and figure out what it is that you might need some extra help on. So, 82, I know some of you guys worked ahead on this, and that's fine, I guess. But if you did not, or you didn't check your answers, you should probably follow along with me the next 10 minutes or so here, because I'm going to review what the difference quotient is and how to apply it to polynomials, radicals, and rationals, and then you'll still do the 3 on the back on your own. So, with all of these, the start and the end is very similar. The start of all of these, you need to have the difference quotient memorized. Once again, my suggestion is to force yourself to write it down every single question. The repetition will help you memorize it. And step 2 will always be asking you to apply what it's saying. So f of x plus h means go to the function. Everywhere there was an x now has an x plus h. So I'm trying to match that in red for you to help you see. Then difference quotient says take away the whole function and put the whole thing over h. So it doesn't really matter what the function was, it doesn't change how difficult memorizing the difference quotient is or applying the difference quotient. The middle of each of these questions is what can be a little bit different, just the algebra. So for this one, this is probably the one you're going to feel most comfortable with because it's got FOIL and some distribute and more distribute before the question finishes. So make sure this is going to be your most common mistake. X plus h squared is not x squared plus h squared. If you need to, on the side, FOIL that out. You do get an x squared and an h squared, but you also get a 2xh. And eventually you need to distribute the 7. Eventually you need to distribute the negative. And we don't need the over h until the end, but we need to keep up with that. I will also say that right here, if you try to do all of this in one step, be careful not to distribute the 5 first. You got to do order of operations and you got to do exponent first. So I did it this way, so now I will distribute the 5. I guess it creates one more step, but other than kind of being a pain to write it all down, it's not really a problem. Okay, so since I started with the polynomial, the middle chunk of this question was foiling, distributing, distributing, distributing. And now it should finish like all 3 of these question types do. Most of this stuff in the numerator should add to 0, like 5x squared minus 5x squared, 7x minus 7x, 6 minus 6. In fact, the only things that don't cancel out better have an h in there because our last step is to divide out the h's. And then if it helps you see it, you could factor out a GCF of h out of the numerator. And then it's a little bit easier for you to see those h's cancel out. So we are aiming for 10x plus 5h and a plus 7. So the next question will be different in the middle, but it'll still start off the same way and it should still end the same way. Anything you guys would like some clarification on about question 1? Everybody remember that part okay? Okay. Okay, question 2 then, again, starts off the same way. Difference quotient's never going to change. Applying the difference quotient's not going to change. Start off by plugging in x plus h the first time. then subtracting the function, and then putting it all over h. But unlike question 1, we can't just get away with foiling and distributing before we combine like terms and divide out our h. For this one, the only way to move forward, so you kind of have to memorize this step, is you want to multiply by conjugates. So we're going to do the conjugate of the numerator, because the numerator is the part that has the square root stuff. So the minus sign becomes a plus sign. And to make sure that we're really just multiplying by 1, we need to multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing. That makes sure that we're not changing the size of this, just changing the appearance. And as nasty as this looks, again, multiplying these two fractions actually works out pretty nicely. So when we multiply fractions, we want to multiply the denominators together. So I've got h times all of that stuff. I'm not going to bother to distribute the h because we know the last step is to cancel out h. So I kind of like that it's already factored out. And then when you multiply the numerators and you FOIL the numerators, since we're multiplying by the conjugate, half of it just cancels away anyway. So the square root of 6x plus h minus 2 times the square root of 6x plus h minus 2 would be 6x plus h minus 2. I'm going to just go ahead and distribute the 6 while I'm at it. You're welcome to the outer part of FOIL and then the inner part of FOIL. It makes your work a little bit messier, but those should always add to 0. So you're welcome to skip that step. Since it always is true, we can skip that in mathematics. And then the last part of FOIL. The square root of 6x minus 2 times 6x minus 2. Or square root of 6x minus 2 would be 6x minus 2. But one of them's positive, one of them's negative. So this 6x minus 2 is negative. It's not the 6x that's negative, it's the 6x minus 2 that's negative. You either need to put parentheses there to make sure the whole thing's negative, or just distribute the negative from the get-go. Okay, that's all that should be unique about that question. Now it should finish like question 1. The like terms cancel out, a lot of stuff adds to 0. And in the end, you can undo times h with divided by h. The only thing left in our numerator is a 6, and our denominator has all of this stuff that we just can't do anything about. That is what we're aiming for there. Okay, anything specific about number 2 that you would like me to touch on again before we go on? Okay, then finally the third and last type we would ask you to do is starting off with a rational function. So again, it's going to start the same way and end the same way, but in the middle it's got some different algebra. So you're still going to apply the difference quotient the same way, plug in x plus h, and then you're going to subtract the whole function and put the whole thing over h. Doesn't matter how messy that is or how messy the function was, it doesn't change how difficult the first or second step should be. Now this is kind of a preference thing, but I don't really like this minus a negative. I'm just going to change this to plus a positive. I just think I'm less likely to make a careless mistake. Now, unlike question 1, where we did FOILed and distributed, I guess I could distribute this 8, but that's not going to help very much. Unlike question 2, there's no square roots, so I can't do the conjugate trick. But we end up with a complex fraction, small fractions within a big fraction. So if we get it out of complex fraction form, we should be on our way to our answer. So to get it out of complex fraction form, I would love to multiply this by 8x plus 9 to make those cancel, but then everything has to get multiplied by that. I would love to multiply this by 8x plus 8h plus 9 to make those cancel, but I can't multiply one thing by that if I'm not willing to multiply them all by that. And you can see I chose to distribute the 8 here. You don't have to do that yet, but I think it's going to make it a little bit easier here. So after these two canceled out, all that's left on the first part is -2 times 8x and -2 times 9. All that's left over here is a 2 times 8x, a 2 times 8h, and a 2 times 9. And my denominator just has a ton of stuff. Nothing got to cancel on the denominator. So I've got an 8, or an h, an 8x plus 9, and an 8x plus 8h plus 9. So complex fractions show up fairly often in mathematics. Again, I know you guys don't practice much of that in Algebra 2, but just multiply by all the smaller denominators, and then it should at least not be in a complex fraction anymore. And to finish it off like we did the first two, we've got 16x minus 16x goes to 0, 18 minus 18 goes to 0, and undo times h by divided by h. In the end, we end up with 16 over all of this stuff. Okay, so while 3 is up there, is there anything further or more detailed you'd like to ask? You guys remember all this from last week? Okay, great. It makes it just a little bit easier on you. But feel free to finish copying that down as notes, because you still have one of each type on the back that I would like you to do. So 4 is like question 1, 5 is like question 2, 6 is like question 3. So you should try all of those. Try them without getting a hint, without looking at your notes. See how comfortable you are with those. I do have, I don't think it was me who did those, but I have the answer to those back 3 questions on my website, and it has work. So if you're not getting the right answer, you might be able to see what your mistake was by comparing that. So please put in a good effort there. Then if you would turn in this handout along with the other difference quotient practice we did last class, number 81, if you put both of those together in the same Google Classroom assignment, if you would turn those in for me, please. And then you have the rest of class to work on your review and identify your strengths and weaknesses, and circle the questions that you think you need help with, or you had to look at your notes for, or you had to ask me for help, or you had to ask your neighbor for help. Just try to pin it down to some of the topics instead of all of the topics. But again, you're welcome to ask questions from 83 today, but I will also let you ask all that you need to ask Wednesday. So you don't have to feel pressured to finish the review and get all your questions answered today. Okay, I think that's it for today's plan. Any questions about the agenda or what you need to be doing? I guess I will also just quickly mention on the review, I know some of you won't get to it for a few minutes, and that's okay, but on the review, I tried to summarize some of the big topics here, just like telling you what the things are that might show up on the test, and then some random questions to help you maybe identify the things you have forgotten. And at the very bottom of the back page, this is completely optional, and you may not even want to do this today, and maybe you want to do it Wednesday, I don't know. But there's a good chance a question type or 2 or 3 you might feel like you need extra practice on. So I made these bit.ly links and put them at the end of your review. So if you know you need extra practice on doing limits with conjugates, you can go to that link. It'll take you to that same Khan Academy assignment that you did for me that I gave you points for, but you may not get the same questions anyway. But if you know you need to practice that, then that's at least an easy way to retrieve more practice. If you're not sure if you're good at one-sided limits from a graph, you might pull it up, try a few questions, and just make sure that you understand that by getting some more practice in. So again, you may not get to that till Wednesday anyway, or you may feel like you don't need that at all, which is fine too. But I at least tried to provide you with some easy extra practice. Okay, I will shut up here and let you guys get busy. But again, whether 82 or 83, anything you want some help on today, I would still be happy to help you. So our test is on Friday. You might want to add that to your planner, just in case you're out sick or something on Wednesday. You don't feel like you're caught off guard. But I think that should be it.